Hey everyone, I'm Superfizz from the EthStaker community. Today is July 27th, 2022, and we're here with StakeWise. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Hey everyone.
Hey, EthStaker community.
So I'm going to zip through who everyone is for like 2 seconds, and then we'll get into the call. To begin with, I will introduce StakeWise. We have Dmitri.
Hey everyone, Dmitri. Hey. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little about yourself real fast?
Of course, yeah. I'm the founder and the technical lead at StakeWise. Mostly working on smart contracts right now. Our team got bigger, so there's things I can do now.
Awesome. And Kirill from StakeWise.
Hey folks, yeah, pleasure to be here. I'm Kirill from StakeWise, yes, the co-founder and the commercial lead. It's been a long time coming and jumping on this community call, so yeah, glad we finally made it.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, before we start, I want to publicly thank Nick Zorakish for putting this together. I have said probably 10 times in private, like, we really ought to have a call with StakeWise. I really want to have a call with StakeWise, but we never put it together. And Nix is our new EthStaker, and she just kind of went for it, and I really appreciate that. So with introductions, we'll introduce, really, I'm doing this. Nix first, do you want to say hello and a little about who you are?
Sure. My name is Nick Zorakish. I am the newest member of EthStaker. I also work for GitHub, and I am new to being full-time in Web3, but I have been here for a while part-time. Yeah.
Great. And I will back that up by saying Nix has been a what I would consider a community steward of reddit.com/r/EthStaker for a couple years now. And having observed her contributions, I was like, hey, you really are one of us. So come on in. So we're glad to have you. And she's working with GitHub, and that leads us to Colfax.
Hey everybody, I'm Colfax, passionate about staking, been around EthStaker for a while, also one of the founders of GitHub, which is all around sort of supporting open source and helping people build decentralized professional reputation through POAP issuance for like software contributions and some other fun stuff. So good to be here.
Awesome, yay, get POAP. Remy.
Hello everyone, I do support on EthStaker, and I do some software development for tooling around staking. So that's pretty much what I do around here.
Cool. Glad to have you. Nolan?
Hello.
Yes, I'm Nolan. Oh, wait, he's Nolan. Michael!
Hello, everyone. I'm back at ETH. I do random stuff, blog, YouTube stuff for EthStaker, POAP design.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm Superfizz. I call myself the Beacon Chain Health Consultant. I don't know what it is. I try to drive decentralization and health on the Beacon Chain. So that's what we do. So we're really excited to get into this call. And so, Vedika, do you want to begin by giving us the big picture of what we're going to do today?
Yep, absolutely. So as Fizz stated before, we're here with StakeWise. So we're going to learn a little bit more about them, their service, and dive a little bit deeper into permissioned and permissionless validators, how that the two compare and contrast with each other, and how that context fits within StakeWise services, and then go through what their future goals and hopes are for the service. And talk a little bit more probably about the merge, what those changes are and what that means for StakeWise specifically. And we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome.
Should make for an exciting conversation.
Yes, yes. And so, big picture, Nix, we were talking about the zoom out from the big picture of the purpose of staking on Ethereum down to why we're here with StakeWise today, why you felt like it was a good idea to schedule this call. Can you help us with that big picture arrangement?
Sure. We're all here because we all want Ethereum to succeed, and we all are proponents of Ethereum. And the biggest way that you can support Ethereum is to support staking on Ethereum. Staking is the heart of Ethereum. It's what makes it works. It's what makes it decentralized. It's what makes it unique in terms of how data is handled. And we are having issues at this point with exactly how to keep that decentralization as decentralized as possible, and advocating for and like elucidating how all the staking options work is part of that, so that people can understand their options on how to stake, and it can be clear what the benefits of each staking provider is. And so we want to get to know StakeWise a little bit better so that people can feel like they have all the information.
I think that's solid. Let's dive into it.
Yeah, my audio is blurbing out. I may have to figure something out. But to begin with, can you guys give us just a big picture, like a 5-minute overview of StakeWise, what it works, or how it works? Actually, that's what we'll get into, why and everything else. But how does StakeWise work?
Yeah, well, great question. StakeWise is a liquid staking platform that got its start over a year ago. I think we launched on mainnet in February 2021 and have been going strong ever since. We position ourselves as a decentralized staking protocol to the extent where we have 5 node operators running validators for the community. This is, let's say, on a scale of very decentralized to limited decentralization, a good start in our opinion, and we're certainly committed to taking this number ever higher as time goes on. But I think what's important to focus on is, let's say, our unwavering commitment to actually pursuing decentralization and making sure that we align ourselves with the community. And I guess here Dima can probably talk about how StakeWise actually got started, how he was in the beginning one of those stakers looking to help secure the network, but found himself unable to do so, and this kind of gave rise to StakeWise.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I think, like initially when ETH2 was announced, it was like around 1,000 something Ethereum you had to have to stake. So I've got like very excited about move to proof of stake, but then I thought, well, I wanted to become a validator myself. So where should I get those 1,000 Ether? And yeah, so this is how like actually the initial idea of pulling the funds together from different users on a smart contract level and sharing the reward proportionally to the stake came at that time. So this is when actually I started to work on StakeWise. It was more like on a stealth mode for around 2 years, and then it was reduced to 32 Ether that you need to stake, but still like 32 ETH is a large amount, and many users will have it very useful to kind of stake less than 32. And back in 2020, when we already continued to work on StakeWise together with Kirill, we changed from just the pooling system to more liquid staking protocol, which means that we added tokens to our system. We wanted users to utilize their stake further in DeFi. DeFi was really taking off at that time, so it was a really good opportunity for us to get into DeFi by providing staking service to our users.
Yeah, actually, I vividly remember joining the EthStaker Reddit back in, I think, May 2020 to announce our first public beta. It was interesting that Dima on his own managed to pull off a sort of the first working product that was at the time launched on one of the testnets. I don't remember. I think it was something before Medalla. I wish I remembered. And yeah, I think EthStaker gave us a very, very strong foundation where the initial batch of our users actually came from the subreddit and gave us lots of wonderful feedback and grilled us on all the aspects of security, centralization, decentralization, custody, etc. So yeah, to the extent that we first presented our product in the EthStaker community, we have been there building together from the beginning.
That's awesome. I think Fizz might have some audio issues here. Fizz, can you still hear us?
Oh yeah. I actually I thought you were going to pick it up because we wanted to dig a little deeper.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Can you guys explain us exactly like how do you guys compare in terms of staking services to all the other services out there?
Yeah, of course. So it goes without saying that if we are a liquid staking protocol, we have tokens that users mint whenever they deposit their ETH. And currently we have around 63,000 ETH staked for the system with us. What, let's say, is the biggest differentiator from the rest of the protocols is, I guess, our relentless focus on maximizing users' returns. And so we really try to squeeze out the max by various, let's say, interesting details. So first of such details is the fact that compared to Rocket Pool and Lido, for example, our token model is what we call a dual token model, where the rewards are actually paid out in a separate token, also, let's say, linked to ETH. It's also backed one-to-one. And the reason for why we did this is because rewards and validators, as it currently stands, cannot be taken out. They cannot be compounded. And so whenever you bundle them into the same token, it actually lowers APR over time for people who join your platform anew. And so we wanted to avoid that, first of all. Second of all, we recognize that if we have a liquid token and supposed to have a secondary market, we could actually allow people to compound their rewards for a secondary market. So whenever they stake, they receive a deposit token, they hold it, they apply it in DeFi, whatever they do, they continue earning rewards in the ETH token. So this is the reward. And what they could do is go to the secondary market and sell that for ETH and then stake back, or even simpler, they can just convert the ETH, the rewards token, into the deposit token for which we have liquidity. And so by doing that, you can continuously keep your stake 100% principal, which maximizes your rewards. But let's say we don't stop there. There are other, let's say, initiatives that we came up with. First is the sort of protocols entry queue. So I think we're all familiar with the sort of registration queue that we occasionally get whenever the Beacon chain receives lots of deposits. And the typical issue with protocols that do liquid staking is the rewards of users who have joined at some point are distributed with everyone who has minted the liquid staking token. And whenever someone joins at the moment when the registration queue is really long, he receives the liquid staking token, starts partaking in rewards distribution, but it actually hurts the people who have joined before him, because the new ETH that just came into the platform is not yet earning. It's still stuck in the registration queue. And so whenever your platform is growing rapidly and there is a long registration queue, this may mean that the APR of existing users is considerably suppressed. So let's say it can decline 20-30%. And in order to avoid that, because we recognize that people stake their ETH in the expectation of receiving the full network share of rewards, we introduced an internal entry queue where you don't mint the liquid staking token in the very beginning whenever you stake during the, let's say, long entry queue. You only mint it once the ETH in the validator that was created with your ETH has been activated. And so that really helps us protect the income of users who have joined the platform before. We think that it's going to be especially important after the merge, when I think it's common knowledge everyone expects an influx of ETH into the deposit contract. So we would hope that our users will be protected from this APR dilution. And then, to sort of finish my monologue, we do have different initiatives like the slashing cover from Nexus Mutual that protects not only from principal loss, but also from the income loss from the exit validators. We are very picky with node operators whom we, as a DAO, allow into the protocol. So some validators that are active in other networks and liquid staking protocols, they have not, let's say, passed our criteria. And we want to make sure that their performance is super tight to maximize rewards. And small bits like these, I think, is something that differentiates StakeWise from the rest.
You had mentioned that the goal of StakeWise was to maximize rewards for users. Can you give us an idea? And I know, like, I don't expect you to have a perfect number, but is that something like 101% or 110% of rewards that other participants are getting in other platforms?
Yeah, well, this varies highly depending on the time period in which at which you look at. Basically, if we talk about the benefit of compounding, then the larger the APR, the more effect from compounding you receive. And so I believe we looked at it. If you compound monthly at an APR of 10%, then this boosts your income by tens of percent over, let's say, a 3-4 year period. So let's say we have not seen the APRs like 10%, and we have seen them at 4. So the effect is not as pronounced, but let's say you add this as, let's say, a base layer, then you factor in the absence of dilution of your rewards whenever you would get a large influx of ETH into the protocol. Then you factor in the fact that performance is good. And so we hope to crank out, I don't know, I believe 5 to 10% more over the long term from the perspective of just APRs. And yeah, I do believe if you occasionally compare what our users receive with what has been distributed in other protocols, you would get to that number. Especially so if there is a difference between commissions.
And I'm sure you've heard about the various client diversity issues that were mentioned previously, and even like maybe the staking services diversity issues. Do you have any take on this?
Yeah, I can add on that. I think, as Kirill mentioned, we are quite strict in terms of onboarding operators into our platform, and one of the things that we provide to them is that, like, initially we started as a protocol being the sole operator. So we were like running through all the test nets, then we started as the only operator, and then we moved, like, once we developed a package, we have like a set of Helm charts that a large scale operator can use to provision staking infrastructure on top of Kubernetes. So it basically has all the slashing protection mechanism built in. For example, we use Web3 Signer to keep the slashing database in one place. It also has like a simple way of migrating from one client to another client, so that we can keep the exact percentage of the clients in the staking setup, and some other like pretty useful monitoring and alerting tools. Also like the general benefit that Kubernetes gives you as when you run containers on top of it. So yeah, that's kind of the main, I think, the main package we provided to the operators, and all of our operators as of now run with that Helm charts. They run on different cloud setups. Some of them run on bare metal setups, and we try to diversify the infra setups and also the client setups that are coming with that Helm charts packages. So yeah, that's I think the main key for us in terms of the client diversification.
Dmitri, can I ask you a question? With these operators, do you guys have like a roadmap for increasing the number of operators that you have, or do you have like a philosophy on permission versus permissionless?
Sure. So we wanted to kind of take more step-by-step approach towards the decentralization. Our ultimate goal is to become like fully decentralized in terms of removing the need of DAO to approve operators. But of course, we want to make sure that we don't lose on security, we don't lose on profitability, and in general, like in terms of doing that. So that's why we started like as a sole operator first. Then we moved into a permission set of operators that we have. Like as of now, we have crypto manufacturer, VeriHash, StakeWise, Finoa, and also T Systems as our operators. So yeah, and later we think we will increase the sets, and probably at some point, even like as our setup becomes more robust, we can remove the need to DAO to approve who's gonna be the next operator.
And do you have any requirements for these operators on like client diversity, like what consensus layer client and execution layer clients they're using?
Yeah, so we all like when operators are getting onboarded into StakeWise protocol, they also like have so-called like a post on our forum where they keep the where they specify what clients, what setups they're planning to use, and basically we like in terms of like the DAO in general, we try to keep the number of client, like specific percentage of clients running in our protocol to be like not more, to not become like the majority, not all the operators running the majority client, for example. So that's agreed on in terms of the DAO, and then we also monitor that as well so that we keep the diversity there.
Cool. Just to like dive in a little bit deeper, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but do you know what your distribution is across clients for consensus layer and execution layer is approximately off the top?
I think it's quite like we use Deku, Lighthouse, Prism for consensus clients, and we use Geth. We use, I think, yeah, I think there are like some others we use as well.
Cool.
Thorsten, what consensus and execution client do you run for StakeWise?
Yeah, good question, right? So on the execution layer, that's the one that's most worrisome. That's currently Geth. There is also a Besu, so I have a mix of Geth and Besu there. I'm really thinking about this. I think what I want to do as we get closer to merge, watch how the clients behave. This will either become 100% Besu, or it'll be Besu and to be determined. It's really hard to find alternatives, honestly. I trust Besu. I sort of kind of trust Nevermind. I need to see them a little longer. Aragon is in alpha. That's a little scary, right?
Yeah.
Geth is proven, but it's got 80+% of the network, which means if that has a consensus bug, I know it's not running consensus anymore. So to explain, if that has a bug where it says this block is valid to an invalid block, which has not happened in the wild so far with Geth, but if it does, then we've got the super GAU, right? This is the worst possible thing that can happen because it's a majority client, a super majority client. So long story short, EL worries me. I intend to move off Geth entirely, so at least my stuff doesn't get stranded in that worst case scenario. On the consensus layer side, it looks a lot better. It's Lighthouse and Teku.
Okay. And I want to give a little bit of context for this. Thorsten is probably what I would describe as above an expert operator. He's probably an elite operator. And so when I look at him discussing the difference between running Geth and Besu. I think we all recognize the need to move away from Geth, but I do really look to his signals. So to be honest with you, it's really Thorsten and Joe Clappis who are my gauges for when it's time.
Yeah, Joe
to,
is amazing.
Those guys really are the people who will be the indicators for when it's, to me anyway, for when it's okay to try to fully move to some of those other execution clients.
Yeah. So to maybe give some color to that, right? I've been running Besu as my main client for months now. And when I say main client, I have a failover setup. So there's a Besu, there's a Geth on mainnet. And Besu has been handling all of my Chainlink transactions for the past few months and has been doing that well. It's also the main client for the CL/EL setup, for the staking setup, and that's been working well. I'm really more interested in the Chainlink stuff because it's relatively simple pre-merge to be an execution layer client for a consensus layer client. All you need to do is to say these deposits happened. It's not very demanding. So being able to actually send some transactions through it and see that it's stable, that's way more important to me. And Besu has been doing well there.
So while we're talking about node operators, if either you guys or one of your node operators wanted to rug, how could they do it and how would they do it?
Yeah, I think the main thing they can do is that they can slash the validators because they have the access to the validator key. So I think that's the main risk here. As of that, we provide like slashing insurance that we can probably touch upon a bit later. As of keeping validators from exiting the network, we have like a way of we basically, when we onboard the operator, we also keep this exit signature for the validators that the operator runs, so that in case, for example, operator refuses to exit the validator, we can use that signature to withdraw the validator from the network. And yeah, I think this is the kind of the main 2 points, because as of the withdrawal key, that points to the smart contract, and I think probably the slashing is the main risk here.
So I have a little follow on to that. When users make deposits, do they go to an EOA or do they go to a smart contract wallet?
To the smart contract.
And who has the ability to either make deposits from that or withdrawals or transfer that to the staking pool?
It's only like it's the code that is in that smart contract that is like directing all the ether from that's where it pulls and then it goes to the ETH2 smart contract.
Okay, so from deposit to contract to smart contract to deposit contract, is there any other potential access?
No.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was out there in the clear.
I have another question about MEV if you're done, Fizz.
Yeah, I was going to suggest you go ahead.
All right. So as you know, after the merge, MEV is going to be this probably huge thing, or maybe like not a simple thing. But do you guys have any plans on like getting MEV after the merge, and how is that value going to be transferred into the tokens?
Right. So what the plan for us as of now, like we are working on that, is that we are building a contract that will be used as a destination for the priority fees and MEV rewards. So those like ether will be collected in that smart contract, and then basically it will be compounded back into staking, and ether that accumulated into that contract will be distributed back to the users in form of the reward token we have. So that's kind of the main idea what we are planning to do, and that's on compounding part, and also on the client part, we're gonna add the MEV boost clients from Flashbots to our set of Helm charts, so it can be used, and I think it will be used as like in the default setup, and it will point to like the priority fees and MEV rewards will be pointing to that smart contract that we are working on right now.
I think that's the first time I really grasped what Kirill was mentioning by compounding. So the rewards and so the transaction fees, they're not paid out directly. They are kept within the protocol, and you then roll those into more validators and pay give the users the StakeWise token. That they still have a liquid token, but the platform continues to compound the earned ETH. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So they can use that reward token in like they can basically compound on the liquid pool, for example, on Uniswap, or once withdrawals will be enabled, both reward token and stake token can be withdrawn one-to-one directly from the validator.
So, and I hope that I'm not stepping anyone's toes, but I have one last question in this vein. So all of the ETH is maintained within the staking contract, and withdrawals will be enabled at some point. And if right now, I imagine, I can sell my StakeWise on Uniswap or something, but I can't actually exit. When withdrawals are enabled, what's the flow for taking my StakeWise tokens and actually exiting directly from the protocol?
Right. So it will be implemented like in form of the queue. So basically, you will lock your reward and stake tokens in a smart contract, and once like exit of the validator will be like validator will go through the exit. The ether will be sent back to the contract, and then if it's your turn to withdraw, you will be able to withdraw ether from that like contract. That basically is the withdrawal address for all the ether that is staked.
And just for my own sanity, I think I know what you're going to say, but I just want to get it to be totally clear. Does StakeWise, does a person have access to keys during that withdrawal queue, or is it completely smart contract based?
It's completely smart contract based. Yes.
Okay. So the only key access then is the operators who have key access during staking, and slashing is the only attack they could execute. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. So operators can slash. Yeah, that's the main risk for.
But they don't actually get any gain from that because it's still locked in the protocol, right? Yeah. So it would be a loss to the protocol, but it wouldn't be a gain for the operator.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So I needed to make sure that was clear in my head. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I think there's a caveat worth mentioning that when we launched the withdrawal through smart contract, rather using the withdrawal address, using the smart contract as withdrawal address was not something that the specs allowed. Mm-hmm. And so what we actually launched with is this committee called the Horcrux, which I believe is 7 persons collected from the Ethereum community as, let's say, big standalone figures with the impeccable reputation that are essentially in a multi-sig arrangement controlling about 18,000 ETH staked, or rather not controlling the ETH, but its withdrawal. And mm-hmm. So what we have as basically a procedure is the signatures that have been created for these people. We verify them every month. And the way it's going to work is that, let's say, when the validators, these specific validators will need to be spun down, we'll essentially have this Horcrux assemble in order to process the withdrawal. So that would be an N out of 7 multisig. It's actually interesting with the Horcrux because it has become an inspiration for distributed validator key generation for OBOL, as far as we hear. But yeah, this is, I do believe, worth mentioning in the context that currently all the validators that we create are have a withdrawal address that's pointing to a smart contract. But for the first, I believe, month when we launched, we actually had the Horcrux running.
Will you actively dismantle the Horcrux, or will you sort of wait until it's until it needs to be taken down? Because I think we all recognize the risk of something like that, and not that I, you know, it's a risk because it's humans involved, but the risk is key holders screwing up.
Yeah.
What's the long term for that?
Yeah, I do think that this is a, let's say, valid point, and absolutely, from our perspective, this is, I believe, one, let's say, not call it, let's say, a weak point, but this is something that needs to be removed from the StakeWise setup in order to become, you know, more permissionless and less dependent on some key people. In, let's say, our defense, I'd also say that we have prioritized launching to the benefit of our community over, let's say, waiting for extra couple of months to get this enabled. And let's say, if we're looking at, let's say, the grand scheme of things, I would not be, let's say, I would not point to StakeWise as the only system that uses this solution. It's actually something that needs to be, let's say, people need to be more vocal about it across the network, because I do believe that some million or so ETH is sitting in Lidos contracts under the same setup.
Yeah, and I hope that you didn't. I definitely did not intend that as questioning your security. I really am curious about the plan. I don't. To be honest, I think it's fantastic that you all launched early, because people wanted liquid staking options early. And I also love that you transferred to an OXO2 solution as soon as you could. I don't have any personal issues with doing something in the middle that needed to work. I just wondered about, you know, how long that will be in place after them, or after withdrawals are enabled. Like, do you plan to withdraw those and redeposit them, or do you, and maybe you don't even know yet, and that's okay too. Or do you plan to just leave that Horcrux until the need arises to do the transfer?
I think there was like recent change to the spec in terms of the withdrawal, that actually those that run on like BLS, like the withdrawal key that holds the withdrawal key, you have to first change the withdrawal address, and then you can withdraw Ether. So basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna sign, like the Horcrux, that committee Horcruxes will sign the change from that withdrawal key to the smart contract withdrawal key, to the smart contract withdrawal that we have already now. So as soon as that's done, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you don't need to exit the validators to do that. You can just swap the withdrawal key and validators can continue running. So in that case, we will just do that swap. In case we have to basically exit all the validators and restake the Ether, we will do that we'll do that instead then.
Your withdrawal credentials are version 0.1 to an address, right?
Yeah.
They cannot be changed. It's the version 0.0 that gets changed, not 0.1.
Yeah, I mean the 0.0.1 we have for the Horcruxes, and we're gonna change it from.
Oh wait, 0.0. So Horcrux is not to an address. It was 0.0.
Yeah, it was 0.0. It was when the first one came out. So
got it. Okay, yeah, that can be changed.
Yeah.
My very last question, then I'm going to hand it off to somebody else. Are you comfortable disclosing what your M of N is? Your I guess a 7, your M of 7 for signing the threshold.
Oh, N of 7. What is the N?
Is it 7 of 7? I just.
No,
the thing that I always worry, yeah,
No,
I always worry
not 7 of 7.
about people losing keys. Like, that is my big fear in life.
No, of course. It's completely understandable. It's not 7 of 7.
Okay.
I don't remember whether we have disclosed this before. I'm just looking for our documentation, because we actually
public,
have
it's
this
okay.
in our docs. I do think that, yeah, I see here that we're right. We omit the specific threshold for security reasons, but users should expect X to be in the range of 4 to 6.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's the N that you get. But how to put this? We don't speak about this too often these days because it's literally happened, let's say 15 months back, but it's still an important subject. And yeah, from the security perspective, trust me, we'll be the first people to wish to just step away from this arrangement because ultimately it is, let's say, not as good as having a smart contract handle this withdrawals.
And I'll acknowledge that I've spent more time trying to understand this than is really appropriate for this call. So I think we could probably move on to more interesting current things than the way your multi-sig is set up, or the way your multi-sig was set up before you used a fully smart contract based solution.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's say, I think what is, I guess, the most important that comes out of this is, first of all, transparency, and second, maybe let's say for the Horcrux, with the Horcrux, the withdrawals component is, let's say, not as permissionless as you'd get with, let's say, a smart contract based withdrawal. Still, let's say StakeWise has some other solutions that perhaps are a step towards more security for users' funds, like, for example, keeping the exit signatures of the validators that join our network to make sure that they, let's say, don't run away with users' run away, but let's say not process the withdrawal if they're being asked to, or they, keep the MEV fees to themselves. We can always, let's say, kick them out if this is the case, which is not something you can say about other platforms. So I'd try to settle on this is all a trade-off, and we do try to make sure it's always in the user's best interest that whatever we choose, and we run this by the DAO. So I guess we're even.
Cool.
So I have 2 more questions. First, you guys mentioned Nexus Mutual slashing insurance. Can you give us more details on that? Like, is it the users paying for the insurance?
No, actually, it's StakeWise's development team that's paying for the insurance, and really the reason for it is that one, we are running this as a trial right now, with the, let's say, an eye for continuing this, but let's say for the purposes of the trial, we just not want to, let's say, turn this into a long, discussion whether the protocol needs insurance or not. If so, then how we're going to compensate for certain aspects of the cover and so forth. And so the users ultimately are just the beneficiaries of the cover. They don't pay anything. This comes out of the development team's funds that have been raised before.
Okay, and then my next question, I think we're getting near wrapping up. What's next for you guys? What are you working on today? What's coming up next?
Dima, how do you want to address this?
Yeah, like the priority right now for us is to do the merge, make sure that we are fully ready, as we are actually the only, I think the only, liquid staking protocol that runs on Gnosis as well. Gnosis is has their own fork of ETH2 chain that has much more, you basically require much less capital to stake to become a validator. So that's why there are quite some scaling problems that you can face there due to the large number of validators. Those are hard to, if you manage to get along with them, it's much easier to run on the mainnet. So we will first make sure that we do the correct, we can do the merge on Gnosis that comes before Ethereum merge, and then we will do on Ethereum as well, like make sure that all our operators are ready. We have a smart contract that runs and compounds the rewards. And as of the future, we really want to align even more ourselves with the values of Ethereum. We want to keep our keep working on even more decentralization. We want to there are a lot of things we can improve and do on the tokenomics as well. That's something we think can be very beneficial for us. And yeah, so I think the security, decentralization, more opportunities, more integrations for our users. That's our priorities.
And I think that's where we have this really strong connection of we're all here for developing the staking ecosystem. And so to hear you say that your ultimate goal is to promote the health of staking, that's really what we look forward to. Having multiple LSDs, multiple liquid staking options that don't exceed 30% or even 20% of the network is really a healthy contribution. So I deeply appreciate that you all are working in that area.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that, let's say if you're someone that's building on Ethereum, you'd be inclined to support its values of, let's say, transparency, open source, decentralization, etc. I do think that, let's say, historically, we have tried to stand by these values with what has been discovered by Dmitri across the liquid staking protocol market as a bug back in October 2021, in terms of, let's say, how we approach decentralization, which is step-by-step controlled manner to make sure that users are the ones that, let's say, don't take the brunt of our experimentation, because let's say this is great to be first to market with something, as let's say we learned ourselves back when we launched with the Horcrux, but at the same time there's also, let's say, a price that you pay for rushing things, and so we chose to decentralize in a, let's say, more permissioned manner than some others. That being said, I do think that there are big things coming for StakeWise, hopefully quarter 4. So starting with October, that is going to further prove that StakeWise is here building alongside the community of stakers and other believers in Ethereum, and we'll aim to just further propel our common goals.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys for coming today. We do have some other kind of, I guess, the tail end of this, where we're going to talk about the POAP and our future events. But thank you so much, StakeWise, for being here. I've had so many questions, and I again, thanks to Nix for getting this set up. It's great to kind of get into the nitty gritty of how StakeWise works and how it contributes to LSD diversity, which is something we're all working toward. So thanks again. Michael, do you want to take it? Actually, is that where we're headed? Yep. So upcoming events, that would be Nix and Michael.
Yep. So for today's POAP for the community call number 19, there is a Google fillable form. The hyperlink is in the YouTube chat. Go ahead and click on that link. Provide us your Ethereum wallet address. We will then distribute those POAPs via poap.delivery for today's POAP. Next, did you want me to go ahead and talk about the 2 upcoming events, or you want to take them?
Can I poke in there for 2 seconds?
Go ahead.
We're distributing this through poap.delivery. And if you don't know yet, I almost say this every time, but if you sign up with Earnify, EARNI.fi, there is some kind of charge, but they do give you notices whenever there's an airdrop, and they automatically claim your poap.deliveries. And so if it weren't for Earnify, I would lose half of my POAP deliveries. So that's why I always like to stick a plug in for them.
Okay, so some of the things that are coming up. We're doing merge calls for the girly merge, the testnet merge and the mainnet merge, and the girly one is going to be hosted on the Bankless channel. The mainnet one is going to be hosted on the Ethereum Foundation channel. The mainnet one should be fun. Everybody should be there. Ethereum Foundation, Bankless, Daily Gwei, EthStaker. And then also there's a validator workshop coming up, and maybe Thorsten can say something more about that.
Is Remy here? No, it's
No,
me.
he left.
All right. So this Friday we'll do a little workshop for solo validators. The idea is that we'll have a live stream and we'll take a Lighthouse in Geth and a Prism in Geth setup on System D, set up using the Somer guide, and we'll transition it to be merge ready, and we'll transition it to use Besu. That's pretty much it.
So if you're someone who doesn't like watching videos or like walking through text guides, this is your perfect opportunity to go to a live workshop. Yeah, so
And
All right.
one more thing I want to point out is the just a quick and dirty plug for Stereum's update and upkeep challenge. If you do want to participate, it's open to all solo stakers for mainnet setups. Registration, though, does end on the 31st of July, so make sure you get that in to participate. You'll be competing for POAPs, prizes, and pride. Make sure you check that out. All of the links for everything that was mentioned, the merge calls, the merge validator workshop, and the Stereum update and upkeep challenge are on ethstaker.cc under the events section.
Hey, have we ever done a Stereum setup walkthrough with EthStaker?
I do not believe so, no.
I think that would be a great opportunity. Stereum is, for solo stakers, it is a fully graphical interface. You sort of run it on a Windows box, and it manages your Linux box, which is kind of across the room. It does everything for you from Windows, which I realize now is a great opportunity for home solo stakers who want to use Windows in a GUI. So let's do that soon, I hope. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. Dmitri and Kirill, we're so appreciative to learn more about StakeWise, and it's actually, I didn't know that you got a start in the EthStaker Reddit, so I'm really glad that worked out. So it was great to see you all today.
Yeah, us too. Thank you for having us, and yeah, looking forward to keeping the conversation going in the Staker subreddit.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye all.
Thanks all. Bye bye.